most of all remembered and acknowledged for founding the Tarragon Theatre in 1971. Across the railway tracks from the Factory Theatre, where he directed his legendary production of David Freeman's Creeps. By now, I know you all know who I'm talking about, and it's a pleasure to introduce Bill Glassco.
Friends, I'm glad that I don't have to hold Dora because this is a lot lighter, and this is really going to take me a long way, make me come back to Toronto more often. I feel there's a certain serendipity in my being here tonight. I'm deeply honored to be recognized tonight, but because of the passing of Virgil and the appointment of a new artistic director, I feel this is a very special year for Tarragon, and I'm also very much pulled back to my roots of the Tarragon because of my involvement now with the Siminovich Prize, which this year will be awarded to a mid-career playwright in Canada. I feel that I should take this opportunity, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge some people that you probably don't really know much about, or, I mean, you will know their names, many of them, but people who were very instrumental in making the first 2 years of the Tarragon work. And because they were there with me, and because they gave me so much, theater survived into its very successful third season. We were very, very close to closing before the end of the first season. We almost closed. If Leaving Home had not been a success, that would have been it. There's a famous line in Jitters where the director, who's based on me, of course, says to Robert, the playwright, Robert, we've had 4 turkeys in a row, we need a hit or else. Actually, they weren't all turkeys. I still defend some of them. I want to remind you that the lovely Rita Davies, who is now the Tsarina of Toronto culture, was in the second production of at the Tarragon, and John Candy, as you know, was in the first. So we've had a pretty distinguished group of actors and performers all through that time. Anyway, about the first 2 years, I want first of all to thank or to acknowledge the tremendous value that came to me from working at the Factory Theatre Lab with Ken, which was immediately preceded the founding of the Tarragon. I think, Ken, you showed me, you convinced me, if I needed convincing, and I think I did, that Canadian plays, the development of our own dramaturgy, was the way to go. It was the only meaningful thing to do at that point in our lives. And for that, I will always be enormously grateful to you, Ken. Thank you. I want to acknowledge somebody who unfortunately is not here tonight. She was supposed to come, but she was not able to at the last minute. And that is Jane Glassco. Because Jane really founded the theater with me. And what many of you don't realize is that she was the one who gave the theater a lot of its personality and visual style. She designed or helped design the logo, the original logo, with Jim Henson. She really, we brought the Pay What You Can performance to Toronto. We stole it. We changed the name. We stole the idea from a theater in San Francisco, which we'd been to the year before. We thought it was a great idea. And we initiated, we changed the name from something similar, but it was not as good, to Pay What You Can. And it was Jane Glassco, with her flair, with her sense of fun, with her very demanding look at patrons in fur coats. We didn't have that many in the first 2 years. She made it stick, and she should get the credit for that. Thank you, Jane. I would like to acknowledge also Bernie Bomers, who was also very much there at the beginning of the Tarragon. He was our first general manager. Mallory came in the second year, and Bernie left in the fourth, so after that, Mallory was it for me, and of course, I owe everything to Mallory. But I just want to mention Bernie because Bernie was a wonderful, funky, super fun-loving character, and he also had a lot to do with the kind of personality that we had in those early years. And I want to also mention three friends who supported me and helped me and acted as kind of associate artistic directors in the first year of the theater. Steve Whiston-Smith, who played Sam in the wheelchair in Creeps, Brian Meeson, and Jimmy Douglas. They all directed shows in the first year. And as I said, those plays were not all turkeys, despite the line in David French's play. And I want to thank a few other people. I want to thank them because what they did for us in those first 2 years, either by direction or acting or whatever, was terribly important to the survival of the theater. So I would like to acknowledge and thank tonight Frank Moore, who was in the original production of Creeps and Battering Ram, Patsy Hamilton, who was our first Marie Lou. She was in Battering Ram. She was also in See No Evil Here the first season. Les Carlson, who was in many plays those first 2 seasons. Robin Craig, who was Robin Cameron then, David Craig's wife. Wonderful Robin, who was and always has been a fabulous support, a wonderful friend. She was in the original production of Creeps. She was also in a wild production of a show called Absurd Sandwich that featured 3 children and a midget. And the playwright singing his songs for the first half of the show. I insisted the show was too short, so we had to have the playwright sing his songs. It was a mistake, but never mind. And I would like to acknowledge 4 people who are no longer with us. The director, Stephen Katz, who designed some of my early shows and gave me a beautiful production with the Stag King in the second season. Sean Sullivan, who was the unforgettable Jacob in Leaving Home and Up the Fields Lately. Flo Patterson, who was extraordinary Mary in Of the Fields Lately. And my dear friend George Berdakis, who was the first Leopold in Forever Yours, Marie Lou. I also want to thank John Van Buren, who helped me get going with, who helped us get going with Michel Tremblay. That wouldn't have happened without John. Now, I know this evening is getting very long, and I have a whole list of things, people I want to thank from my career, but I think this is not appropriate because we'll be here all night. So I just wanted to say that I feel I've been blessed by working with so many wonderful people in the theater, and so many wonderful things have happened to me in this city. I'm very grateful for the opportunity I got to create Canadian Stage. It was not easy, as you all know, or not all of you know, but a lot of you know. But it was worth doing, and I'm very proud of the quality of the work and the envergure, the wingspan of that theater now has. It's much better that we have a theater of that size in the city than just having, I believe, than just having Center Stage, which really didn't have a clear identity. That was one of the major reasons Edgar and Guy and I wanted to start Canadian Stage. I won't say any more about that. I would really just like to turn to the Tarragon, back to the Tarragon, and say that really I feel I stand here being honored tonight partly because of Virgil and Andy and Mallory and everything they have done to make the Tarragon strong and fantastic for the last 20 years. I was only there for 11 years. Virgil was there for 20. And it's extraordinary. I said to him several times, you know, I am so proud of what you've done with my theater. And I will always be grateful for that. And thank you too, Andy. and Mallory is not here. Well, that goes without saying. And I would like to publicly welcome Richard Rose. I think Richard is a wonderful choice for the theatre. He's a man of great intelligence, great audacity, and he's a risk taker. And he's a visionary director. And every theatre that's worth its salt needs that. And I think we have one of the best in the country. So welcome to Richard Rose. And thank you all very much for this honor.